Megan Dalla Camina is an author, a mum, and the founder and CEO of Women Rising. She has 2 master's degrees and is undertaking her PhD, has written 4 best-selling books, and coaches women and male allies on how women can unlock their full potential. Now, let's start at the very beginning. Tell me about your early life.
My early life probably looks very different to what somebody would think when I was, where I ended up as a corporate executive for a long time. I grew up as a dancer and an actress. So from 3, when I think I put on my first pink tights and ballet shoes, through till about 23, I was, a dancer, an actress. I was in the theatre, I was a singer in a band, had a very creative, rich creative life. Never wanted to go to university. I was very rebellious in my sort of mid to late teens and never thought that I would do anything else with my life other than be an actress. Yeah, that was my life.
So what happened?
When I was 21, I got chronic fatigue and I was in bed for 6 months, very, very sick, and took quite a long time to recover from that. And then I was doing different roles. I worked in the music industry. I worked in my parents' insurance company for a while. I went and did my audio engineering diploma and worked as a music producer for a period of time. I was kind of, all around the place. And then when I was 24, I had a car accident. And that car accident didn't look really bad, but I hurt my back quite badly. I'd just been to do summer school at NIDA, the National Institute of Dramatic Art, and I was trying to reignite, my acting career. And I was also thinking, oh gosh, is it time to get a real job? I was engaged to be married. Do I go to LA? Do I stay? And I sort of handed it over to the universe and said, just place me where I'm meant to be. And, the next day I went for a job interview at GE and I thought it was, light bulbs and washing machines. And it was actually their electronic commerce business right before electronic commerce was a thing. But I very quickly started working with the marketing manager and got very interested in what does marketing do and all the rest of it. And about 9 months in, they created a role for me as a marketing communications specialist. And I started working in Asia. And that was really, and I absolutely fell in love. And that was the next 18 years of my life.
Was it while you were there that you decided that you needed some tertiary qualifications?
So once I'd moved into that first marketing role, I would have been 26. I thought, if I'm going to do this thing, if I'm going to have a career in marketing, then I need some qualifications because I didn't have any. I was working in Asia. I used to spend 3 weeks out in Asia or the US, 1 week back in Australia.
So you were commuting?
I was commuting, absolutely. Spent a lot of time in Hong Kong specifically as well. And I was studying online. I was married. I was in this, new young marriage. But I wanted more. I was deep in my marketing work and deep in business. So that's when I came to Macquarie and I transferred without finishing my undergrad into a postgrad certificate in business management.
And how did you manage it? Were you on campus or was this also online?
So I was on campus. So back in the day. And this is when I really fell in love with higher education, when I came to Macquarie. And I did the postgrad. I started with postgrad certificate in marketing. But as I got into it, I very quickly realised that I wanted the broader business management. So I started before I had my son. And I was First child, only child.
Yep.
And I was going into the city campus for evening classes while I was working during the day, while I was pregnant. So that was okay, actually. That wasn't too challenging. The challenge came post-child. I had my son. I was going through a big integration at work. IBM had bought the consulting business of PricewaterhouseCoopers where I was. I was working on that deal in New York. It was a massive time of, turmoil and transformation in my professional career. I was doing my postgrad diploma at that stage. I was also having some personal upheaval. I was getting divorced with a young child. So that was interesting.
Nothing like piling a lot
Pile
on
it
at
on,
once,
pile
you
it
know.
on. And I mean, we'll talk about it, but it's very much now about what I teach. Of like, if I looked back on my life then, that was the test case in what not to do. It was a recipe for burnout, which is where I ended up. So I ended up in burnout a couple of years later. So I was really unwell. I mean, burnout, that is defined by that sense of exhaustion, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, whatever.
Could you get
whatever
out of bed?
it is? Yeah, I was still
working?
high functioning, burnt out executive, which we see every single day. You know, we're seeing an epidemic level of burnout amongst professional women, where we keep going until we hit the wall. And that's what happened to me. You know, I was on another business trip to New York. I was director of marketing at IBM at this stage. Massive team, $5 billion business, had 250 people in my team, billions of, dollars. And I came back on the trip from New York, and that morning I drove into the car park of my office and I called my mum, as we do, and I said, I just don't think I can do this for one more minute. Expecting her to, you'll be fine, and da-da-da-da. And she said, of course you can't, Megan, you have no life. Because I was literally doing the job, raising my child, and trying to survive through that. And I got in the lift, I went straight up to my boss's office, the CEO, and I just walked in and I said, I'm done. I can't do this for one more minute. I ended up taking 2 months off, and that was the start of a whole new phase.
And was that healing for you, or was that just the beginning of your book of creating knowledge for what you wanted to teach other women?
It was a recalibration process. And it was when the spark really lit for me around, how do we do this as women? How do we have a healthy personal life and family life, whatever that family looks like, and pursue our goals, pursue the things that we're passionate about, be on our purposeful path, as I always talk about. And coming out of that burnout, I started picking up the breadcrumbs of what my purpose would eventually look like. I went and did my yoga teacher training. I then went and did my second master's degree in wellness and positive psychology, which was a world first. And all of that led to more work around women's leadership, gender diversity, well-being, getting my coaching qualifications, and then writing my first book while I was still at IBM.
So tell me about Women Rising. Is this the definitive book?
I feel like this is my life's work book, if that makes sense. All of my research, all of my own experience, decades of coaching women, my own personal journey, and all of the work I've done in my company, Women Rising, which is an empowerment and leadership company. And what I've tried to do in this book is to make sense of so many of the questions that are still unanswered. When we look at, after all of the work that's been done, in all of the women's movements and all of the work that's been done in organisations, all of the government intervention, why are we still here with so little progress in so many ways in terms of women in positions of power?
Is this a life-changing book?
I'd like to hope so, yeah. I mean, it's the thing in the Women Rising program that I created that we've had 8,500 women go through in the last 3 years. The thing that I hear most often, over and above, it's helped me on my leadership path or my career path, is it's life-changing. Yeah. And I think one of the main reasons for that is so often as women, we're so busy doing all of the things for all of the people. We don't take that time to put ourselves first and ask ourselves the questions like, what do I want for my life? Everyone's journey will be different reading the book, but I would like to think that there'd be at least something in there for everyone that would spark some life change.
Fantastic. Now, any regrets at not following that career to Hollywood?
Oh my goodness, what a question. No one's ever asked me that before. No, I've had no regrets. I know I'm on my right path.